In a discovery that could shatter our understanding of history, scientists have unearthed what they believe to be the long-lost tomb of Genghis Khan. Hidden for centuries, the tomb's haunting contents are as enigmatic as they are terrifying, raising more questions than answers. What are the unsettling artifacts inside, and how do they redefine what we thought we knew about the great Mongol conqueror? Brace yourself for a journey into the unknown, a revelation so shocking it has the potential to change the very fabric of human understanding. Welcome to an exploration that will unsettle history and shake our foundations. This changes everything. The enigma surrounding the tomb of Genghis Khan has been the stuff of legends, novels, and academic inquiries. While factual accounts have been sparse, tales have been plenty. Genghis Khan, the Mongol conqueror who carved out one of the largest empires the world has ever seen, supposedly commanded that his final resting place be hidden from the world. It was said that whoever participated in the burial was executed to ensure the location's eternal secrecy. Rivers were rumored to have been diverted to flow over the tomb, and wild horses were let loose across the area to trample any signs of its existence. With such a shroud of myth, the location of the tomb has remained one of history's greatest mysteries, stirring imaginations across centuries. For years, historians and archaeologists found themselves caught between honoring local traditions and satisfying global curiosity. Mongolia considers Genghis Khan not just a historical figure, but a national hero and a spiritual icon. The nation has held the belief that disturbing the Khan's resting place would unleash calamities, marking it as forbidden territory, both literally and culturally. This has naturally created a tension between the realms of scientific inquiry and cultural sensitivity, leaving the tomb's whereabouts cloaked in secrecy and taboo. Numerous attempts to locate the tomb, including expeditions fueled by a blend of scientific expertise and local folklore, yielded nothing but disappointment, adding more layers to an already dense tapestry of speculation. Yet, despite these barriers, the allure of discovering the tomb has never dimmed. It's more than just the appeal of treasure or the promise of invaluable historical artifacts. It's about the unquenchable human desire to solve a riddle that has perplexed generations. Archaeologists have pored over ancient texts, scrutinized satellite images, and even studied the migratory patterns of local animals for clues. Folk stories tell of a mountain referred to as the Burkhan Khaldun in northeastern Mongolia, which was believed to be sacred by Genghis Khan. This led many to think that this mystical mountain could be guarding the secret everyone was so desperate to uncover. And then, as if guided by the invisible hand of fate, came the groundbreaking discovery. The notion that scientists could crack open this historical enigma was viewed by many as audacious, if not downright sacrilegious. But in an era where technology can peer into the farthest reaches of the universe, it was perhaps inevitable that we would someday cast our gaze deep into the hidden recesses of our own past. That day has come, and the revelation is nothing short of earth-shattering. No longer can we simply weave tales around campfires or pen speculative videos about what might lie within Genghis Khan's tomb. We now have tangible, incontrovertible evidence, a stark reality that punctures the ballooning myths that have captivated us for so long. The gravity of this find cannot be overstated. For academics, it opens new avenues of research into Mongolian history, archaeology, and even anthropology. For Mongolia, it presents both a cultural celebration and a complex quandary about how to handle newfound international attention. For the world at large, it adds a new, unsettling chapter to an old narrative that has fascinated us for centuries. But it also strips away the comforting blanket of folklore, forcing us to confront realities that are at once exciting and deeply unsettling. Just when the world had almost given up on ever locating the fabled tomb of Genghis Khan, a team of archaeologists stumbled upon what can only be described as an unexpected revelation. Laden with scientific equipment, the team was actually in Mongolia for a different mission entirely. Their primary goal was to study ancient climate patterns by examining soil sediments. What they didn't anticipate was unearthing a discovery that would ignite a firestorm of international intrigue and debate. The site was located in a remote area near the Burkhan Khaldun mountain, an area long speculated to be the final resting place of the great Khan, but never definitively proven. As the team began their dig, an irregularity in the soil layers piqued their curiosity. Probing deeper, they encountered not just the usual fragments of plant material and sediment, but a formation that clearly seemed man-made. The telltale signs of a burial site slowly began to emerge. Realizing the potential magnitude of their finding, they contacted authorities and initiated a far more meticulous excavation process. Technology played an irreplaceable role in this landmark discovery. Ground-penetrating radar was employed to map the subterranean structure. Advanced metal detectors signaled the presence of artifacts. Drones equipped with high-resolution cameras provided a bird's-eye view, helping to navigate the challenging terrain. All these tools converged to reveal a burial site so elaborate it could only befit a leader of immense importance. Intricate carvings, symbols of power, and remnants of what seemed like ceremonial offerings were scattered around. The defining moment came when inscriptions resembling the old Mongol script were deciphered, pointing almost conclusively to this being the tomb of Genghis Khan. As word of the discovery spread, the world held its breath. Here was a find that promised to alter the course of historical research and challenge long-standing narratives. Scientists and historians alike waited with bated breath for the unveiling of the tomb's contents. But the discovery was laden with its own set of complications. The Mongolian government had to be consulted at every step, given the monumental significance of the find for the nation's heritage. And as news media descended upon the site like a swarm of bees, ethical considerations loomed large. Questions began to emerge about the propriety of excavating a site so deeply entwined with Mongolian culture and identity. As days turned into weeks, the meticulous work continued. Scientists clad in specialized gear were seen working round the clock, a medley of onlookers and local officials maintaining a respectful distance. The world was given periodic glimpses into the progress, each revelation fueling discussions and debates that ranged from the academic to the existential. But beyond the incredible artifacts and historical documents that began to surface, there was an ineffable feeling that the discovery was opening up a Pandora's box of unforeseen outcomes. A variety of experts were called in to lend their insights. Linguists examined inscriptions, historians consulted ancient texts for corroborative evidence, and anthropologists weighed in on the cultural implications. Even as the project took on an interdisciplinary approach, the sense of awe never diminished. Everyone involved was acutely aware that they were part of something extraordinary, an endeavor that was rewriting chapters in the annals of human history. As archaeologists and researchers prepared to open what was now almost certainly Genghis Khan's tomb, there was a palpable sense of unease. The sense of grandiosity that typically accompanies significant historical discoveries was conspicuously absent, replaced by an atmosphere of apprehension. What lay within those ancient stone walls wasn't merely a trove of historical treasures. It was a set of items so perplexing and chilling that they threatened to redefine our very understanding of the man known as Genghis Khan and, by extension, the era he dominated. As the seals were carefully broken, the first items to be revealed were, as expected, objects of grandeur. Gem-encrusted swords, scrolls written in ink that had not faded despite the centuries, and ornate armor that was a testament to the craftsmanship of its time. These items were in themselves groundbreaking, but as the team delved deeper, what they found defied explanation. Among the riches were artifacts that seemed entirely out of place in a 13th century burial site. There were objects composed of materials that appeared to be far more advanced than anything that should have existed in that epoch. Advanced metallurgical compositions, seemingly anachronistic gadgets with unknown purposes, and even what looked like rudimentary mechanical devices. Most unsettling of all were the inscriptions and symbols on some of these artifacts. Glyphs and scripts that did not match any known language seemed to be etched with extreme precision, almost as though executed by machinery rather than human hands. Upon further inspection, experts from different fields could not identify the origins of these inscriptions or even hypothesize about their possible meanings. It was as if these objects were sending messages that nobody could decipher, pointing to knowledge or entities hitherto unknown. The mystery deepened when DNA samples from the remains in the tomb yielded inexplicable results. The genetic markers seemed to contain anomalies that made them distinct from any lineage known to man. While it's common for historical figures to be mythologized and accorded godlike attributes, the reality is that they are always human. Always. Except now, it seemed as though the scientific evidence was pointing towards something much more mysterious and complicated. Adding to the eerie atmosphere was a set of ritualistic items suggesting practices that were not part of any recorded Mongol traditions. Ceremonial daggers arranged in geometric patterns, containers filled with unidentified organic compounds, and inscriptions that seemed to allude to celestial bodies and cosmic events. Was Genghis Khan part of a belief system that has been completely lost to history, or was there something even more otherworldly at play? Among the most disturbing of finds was a parchment, seemingly a map, depicting landforms that were not identifiable as any known geography. It almost looked like a representation of a different world altogether, filled with symbols and topographic designs that had no parallel on Earth. Beside the map lay a set of stones with translucent qualities, almost resembling some kind of advanced data storage, though this is purely speculative. The stones emitted a faint glow, and any electronic devices brought near them seemed to malfunction inexplicably. The troubling aspects of this discovery went beyond the challenge of scientific categorization. They ventured into existential territory. If these artifacts were indeed from the era of Genghis Khan, then they suggested a level of knowledge and understanding that seemed practically alien when compared to what was previously assumed about the period. The unsettling question that loomed large was, what if Genghis Khan was part of a narrative far more complex and unsettling than anything we've ever considered? As news of these artifacts leaked into public consciousness, reactions ranged from skeptical dismissals to fearful speculation. Some argued that the items must be an elaborate hoax, while others were convinced that they marked the first evidence of extraterrestrial contact. Conspiracy theorists had a field day, postulating that Genghis Khan was everything from a time traveler to an alien overlord. While such theories were largely dismissed by the academic community, the fact remained that no one had any definitive explanations. As if the mysterious artifacts weren't perplexing enough, the scientific data that began to emerge from the analysis of the tomb's contents seemed to challenge the very tenets of archaeology, genetics, and physics. The initial focus was, understandably, on DNA analysis and carbon dating, the gold standards for understanding the origins and age of historical finds. Yet, what these tests revealed didn't align with any scholarly predictions, creating more questions than they answered. The DNA analysis of the skeletal remains, expected to finally confirm that these were indeed the remains of Genghis Khan, resulted in an enigma. The DNA contained markers that defied categorization, appearing to be an amalgamation of sequences that didn't fit any known ethnic group. Stranger still were hints of genetic material that couldn't be identified at all, as if they belonged to no species known to exist. In a field where DNA often provides definitive answers, identifying victims, confirming lineages, and mapping evolutionary paths, here it threw a wrench into the machinery of understanding. The implications were staggering. Had Genghis Khan been a carrier of some hitherto unknown genetic mutation, or was there something even more mysterious at play? Then came the carbon dating results. The age of the artifacts and remains should have clustered around the 13th century, the time of Genghis Khan's reign. However, the dating tests produced wildly inconsistent results. Some items seemed far older than they should be, pointing to civilizations that predate not just the Mongolian Empire, but potentially any human civilization. Others showed signs of an age that seemed impossible based on their pristine condition. It was as if time itself had folded within the walls of this sepulchre, mixing and muddying our most reliable measures of temporal reality. But the anomalies didn't stop there. Beyond DNA and carbon dating, material science experts were baffled by the composition of some artifacts. Some seemed to be made of alloys that would require a level of metallurgical expertise not believed to have existed in the 13th century, or even, perplexingly, today. These materials displayed properties like incredible resilience and unexplained conductivity that defied logical understanding. This led to a realization that sent chills down the spines of even the most seasoned researchers. We were dealing with technologies and materials that seemed to defy the very laws of physics as we understand them. With each scientific test, the tomb seemed to mock our modern hubris, challenging our confidence in the empirical methods that form the bedrock of contemporary understanding. It seemed as if some force was daring us to expand the realm of what we considered possible, urging us to question the scientific orthodoxy that had guided us so reliably until now. As interdisciplinary teams converged to consult on the findings, the climate was one of frenetic urgency mixed with deep existential uncertainty. Physicists, chemists, biologists, and historians found themselves united in their shared bewilderment. For once, they were all novices, confronted with a puzzle that defied their collective expertise. Theories were developed, debated, and discarded in rapid succession. Nothing seemed to stick. Could quantum physics offer an explanation, or were we looking at proof of a yet-to-be-discovered law of nature? Was this a moment that called for scientific revolution, akin to the quantum leaps made during the eras of Einstein or Galileo? Up until this startling discovery, the mainstream narrative of Genghis Khan was that of a military genius who united Mongolia's nomadic tribes and forged one of the largest empires the world has ever seen. However, the bizarre artifacts and enigmatic DNA sequences now suggested that there might be far more to his story. Could it be that his military successes and strategic brilliance were somehow connected to unknown, perhaps even otherworldly influences? Such possibilities clashed head-on with deeply entrenched beliefs, forcing a society to reconsider its foundational myths. Religious circles within Mongolia and among Mongolians worldwide also felt the reverberations. Shamanistic practices tinged with Tibetan Buddhism are an integral part of Mongolian spiritual life. Genghis Khan himself has been integrated into this spiritual tapestry, regarded by some as a deity-like figure whose greatness was preordained by the heavens. The disconcerting artifacts and inconclusive DNA evidence now cast a shadow over these spiritual convictions, causing both introspection and debate among religious leaders. Some saw the findings as validation of the long-held belief that Genghis Khan was a divine entity, while others felt it raised sacrilegious questions that shouldn't even be entertained. The political implications were equally far-reaching. For modern-day Mongolia, Genghis Khan is a symbol of national unity and pride. His visage appears everywhere, from currency to government buildings. The nation's capital airport is named after him, and his statues dot the Mongolian landscape. This veneration of Genghis Khan has been instrumental in forging a sense of national identity and unity. Now, the baffling findings from his tomb had the potential to either amplify his mythos or turn it into a subject of contentious debate. Mongolian political leaders found themselves walking a delicate tightrope, acknowledging the importance of the scientific discoveries while striving to maintain the cohesion of a national narrative that suddenly seemed on the brink of fragmentation. Furthermore, this ground-shattering discovery rekindled geopolitical interest in Mongolia, a country often overlooked on the world stage. As global powers digested the implications of the tomb's artifacts and scientific conundrums, Mongolia found itself at the center of an international dialogue that touched on issues as diverse as cultural heritage, scientific ethics, and even national sovereignty. Negotiations regarding the analysis and custody of the tomb's contents became charged topics, invoking historical sensitivities related to colonialism and exploitation. And then there was the impact on the younger generation, for whom Genghis Khan had been a figure confined to history textbooks and national holidays. Intrigued and often bewildered by the unfolding story, they took to social media, creating viral memes, impassioned blogs, and even protest movements that questioned or defended the orthodox narrative. For them, the tomb became a symbol of the complexities and enigmas that underlie not just history, but identity itself. The discovery of Genghis Khan's tomb didn't just cause a cultural and scientific upheaval, it initiated a seismic shift in the geopolitical landscape, forcing world powers to recalibrate their strategies and confront issues they hadn't anticipated. In an era when geopolitics is often framed by economic partnerships, military alliances, and technological advancements, the unearthed tomb brought an entirely different dimension into play. Its implications transcended conventional politics to touch upon heritage, science, and even the human understanding of reality. Suddenly, a 13th century Mongolian ruler was shaping 21 century global agendas. In the immediate aftermath, international interest in Mongolia soared. What had often been dismissed as a geopolitically insignificant nation found itself the cynosure of global attention. Diplomats, researchers, and high-ranking officials from around the world made their way to Ulaanbaatar, all seeking to understand the ramifications of the discovery. Mongolia's relations with major powers, particularly China and Russia, its immediate neighbors, became intensely scrutinized. Both nations had historical connections and complex relationships with Mongolia and the legacy of Genghis Khan. Now, the finding added another layer of complexity to these already intricate dynamics. The United States, European Union, and other Western powers also entered the fray, seeking both to understand the scientific enigmas posed by the tomb and to ensure that its discovery adhered to international norms of heritage preservation and scientific inquiry. The questions were as ethical as they were political. Who had the right to study these enigmatic artifacts? Could the DNA of a figure like Genghis Khan be mapped and published? And most intriguingly, who would get to tell the revised history that was now taking shape? Then there was the United Nations and its cultural bodies like UNESCO. Questions arose about the tomb's status as a World Heritage Site, and deliberations took on a frantic pace. As debates raged, a host of issues surrounding cultural appropriation, historical accuracy, and national sovereignty were fiercely negotiated. The tomb had unexpectedly become a crucible for some of the most contentious and unresolved issues in international relations. In fact, the greatest geopolitical impact might have been this profound shift in global consciousness. The tomb's existence and its mysterious contents forced nations and individuals alike to confront the limitations of their knowledge and beliefs. Just as the moon landing in 1969 united people around a momentous human achievement, the discovery of Genghis Khan's tomb united them around a perplexing mystery, one that challenged the very foundations of science, history, and culture. If the discovery of Genghis Khan's tomb was a turning point in scientific, cultural, and geopolitical narratives, it was also a flashpoint for debates and controversies that reached fever pitch in various communities around the world. The ethical dilemmas it posed were as multi-layered as the scientific questions, and they intersected in ways that created a complex web of contentious issues. This was not merely a matter of academic discussion, it was a volatile blend of morality, ownership, and the quest for knowledge that provoked heated debates. First and foremost, the ethical considerations surrounding the DNA analysis of Genghis Khan's remains became a subject of intense scrutiny. At the heart of the debate was a simple yet profoundly complicated question. Who owns the genetic code of historical figures? The scientific community, eager to decode the enigmatic DNA sequences, argued that the potential gains in knowledge could benefit humanity at large. In contrast, others, particularly within Mongolia, saw this as an infringement upon national and even personal heritage. The emotional weight of the issue became palpable as descendants of Mongolian tribes vehemently opposed the notion of sharing Genghis Khan's genetic material with the world. The controversy then spilled over into the realm of archaeological ethics. The startling artifacts, inexplicable materials, and age-defying conditions of the items in the tomb led some to question the scientific rigor of the discovery. Critics, some within the academic community and others in the sphere of public opinion, questioned the authenticity of the findings. Had the scientists cut corners under the duress of international scrutiny and expectation? Were the world's leading archaeologists, geneticists, and material scientists succumbing to the allure of sensationalism, thereby compromising their professional integrity? On another front, there were concerns about the potential for cultural exploitation. The array of astonishing artifacts certainly had monetary value, and there was increasing anxiety that these could become commodities on the international market. Art historians and anthropologists joined the chorus, warning against the objectification of what were essentially sacred cultural items. These voices brought attention to the track record of historical finds ending up far from their places of origin, in the halls of foreign museums or the vaults of private collectors. Added to these were the complications of intellectual property rights. If indeed the tomb contained materials or technologies far ahead of current human capabilities, who had the right to patent or exploit them? This was an uncharted territory in intellectual property law, posing dilemmas that legal experts were ill-equipped to resolve. Existing frameworks for understanding ownership and rights were insufficient to address the questions that the tomb's contents raised. Lastly, the religious and spiritual debates took on a life of their own. The strange findings reignited age-old discussions about the line between science and spirituality, materialism and metaphysics. The nature of the artifacts and the questions surrounding Genghis Khan's DNA seemed to defy logical or scientific explanations, providing fodder for spiritual leaders and religious organizations. Was this a realm where science had to step back, acknowledging the limits of human understanding? From ethical quandaries about genetic heritage to questions surrounding archaeological practices, from debates about cultural appropriation to legal dilemmas about intellectual property, the controversies were far-reaching and deeply divisive. What had started as a groundbreaking discovery had evolved into a complex narrative of ethical and scientific rigors being put to the test. In many ways, the debates and controversies were as revealing as the discovery itself, laying bare the complexities, frailties, and ethical considerations that define our collective journey toward understanding the past, the present, and potentially the future.